Turn 1 Soul Ring.
How many Pokemon are there now?
Oh God, way too many.
Yeah,
How many
I
magic cards are
It's
there?
either in the 7. It's in the 7 or 800s.
20,000, something like that?
Probably 20,000 Pokemon. I don't know.
No, there's definitely not that many. There's
Think about all the trainer
807.
cards.
There's over 150.
Or more to
born-
see.
yeah.
To
There's
be a Pokemon
807.
master is my destiny.
There's 807.
Sorry, Eric, we were ignoring you.
But of course, the Pokemon card game, there's all those like trainer cards and stuff. There's more cards.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yep.
Man.
I heard they discontinued fairy energy. Is that a thing?
They discontinued the fairy type.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
so
it was
no more
too-
energy? Because there's
it's-
also dragon energy, isn't there?
It's
The
too
dragon type?
overpowered, apparently, for
really?
the TCG. So they just decided to get rid of the fairy type
Oh, wow.
in the TCG.
I didn't even know that.
Because there were Pokemon that were formerly like normal when I was
Yep.
in like the late 90s when the game came out, and then they made them fairy like Clefairy, which
Oh,
kind of
okay.
makes sense that it would be a fairy type.
Yeah. So fairy's still in the actual game, which is in the TCG. There's no more fairy types.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are various differences between the video game and the TCG.
Oh, tons. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a completely different game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't a show about Pokemon, even though I wish it was.
Do you?
No. I wouldn't know what to say.
Me
But this is Turn 1 Soul Ring, and I'm Kevin.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
Riley's back, everybody.
Whoa!
Hey, Riley.
And today on the show, we are going to be continuing our Color Pie series with the color red. We're almost done, folks. After this, we'll only have to do green. We're not doing gold. We're not doing colorless.
No?
Maybe
they
we will.
don't have
I don't know.
like. Yeah.
It's not the same. You know,
That's fair.
It's not the same.
Gold isn't part of the color pie. You know?
Well, no, I'm just thinking of
Do you know
colors.
how pie
Yeah.
works?
All of the...
Do you know the color pie in Magic?
Why don't we just talk about Oath of the Gatewatch?
Yeah, we can do a set retrospective on that for sure. I would love to do an episode where we just talk about the Eldrazi lore. Like, it's so cool that they're like Purgles in Star Wars. Like, they live in the Blind Eternities, allegedly. So, like, they're kind of like planeswalkers, but not. They're just incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Purgles in Star Wars are the creatures that, if you saw the Solo movie, the thing that they have to escape from in the Millennium Falcon, those are Purgles, and
Oh, that
they're
giant
creatures.
thing.
Yeah, they kind of look like the old gods. They kind of look
Yeah.
like an H.P. Lovecraft type of
Yeah.
creature, and they can travel through hyperspace just like by I guess they
just can.
just can.
Yeah.
It's like how you get up and walk around. That's what they do. They just
Yeah.
they think it and they do it.
I'm going to go over here now.
For such an all powerful beast, it's called a Purgle.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's the name.
Do you think they purr?
I think they're scary.
Do they Urgle?
Urgle.
What kind of sound would Urgle make?
He's probably like, did I do that? Right?
It's like
It's like that's probably a deep cut for some of our listeners.
oh boy.
But yeah, like we said, we're back doing our Color Pie series. We're talking about red, and we're going to talk about red's philosophy, its mechanics, and its overall flavor. It's always weird when I look at flavor in these outlines because it corrects when I spell it with a U. We have a couple of those, like we spell color differently.
Yeah.
We say toque. There's other ones. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah, we've got other forms of slang and language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So I'm going to start off today with some red-related trivia. So I'm going to be asking my co-hosts here. Riley is my guest co-host. And like I told you both, not to look any of this stuff up, so I hope you didn't.
I didn't.
I did not.
Good. Okay, so it's like Jeopardy, so whoever answers first. And if you don't know, you're going to... And you beep, you lose the money.
What?
So
Are we buzzing in?
that was a Jeopardy joke. No, I don't have any buzzers.
Okay.
So, in which Magic set were mountains the only basic land type printed?
Arabian Nights?
Oh, I was going to say Arabian Nights as well.
Okay, Eric gets the win on that one.
Oh, okay, it's just a speed round. He had his hands up.
So
I was like, I know it.
what is the highest converted mana cost among red spells? So this is more than one red spell, but what is like the highest? And it covers a few spells are at this CMC,
Okay.
Okay.
but it is the highest. I'm looking for a number.
I'll say 11.
Okay, and it's Price is Right rules, so closest without going over. $1, Bob.
12.
Okay, you're both wrong because it's 10.
Oh.
Is one of them the one that has like it's the creature?
We have Apex of Power, which is kind of a newer one.
Yep.
Decree of Annihilation. Dragon Tyrant. Greater Gargadon.
Yes, that one.
Yeah,
Gargadon.
that's a great.
I was trying to remember what
Suspend.
Gargadon CMC was.
And Myojin of the Infinite Rage. That's from that Cycle of Spirits. Okay, so what red creature has the highest power toughness?
Woof.
So it's
Oh, Riley knows.
It depends.
Oh, does it?
does it depend?
Well, I mean, you look at a creature like Malignus. Do you want me to read Malignus?
Oh, yeah.
What's Malignus?
But
Malignus's power and toughness are equal to half the highest life total of your opponents, rounded up.
But the card itself has star.
Yeah, it would be 0/0 in your deck.
Yeah.
So it
I think
depends
it's
which zone it's in.
I think we're going off of just what the card reads.
Yeah, what the card
Yeah,
reads.
just
Yeah.
a
Riley.
I you know what? That was my honorable mention. I just wanted to throw that in there. I don't know.
It's Bearer
Drake.
Bearer of Heavens.
Oh, I was
Oh.
thinking of that one.
Yeah,
It's 10/10.
Because he's so big.
he's a big boy.
Oh, he's thick.
Okay, next up. What is the most expensive red card? And this is
Like price.
yeah, financial price, not CMC. And this
Oh.
is
There's a magic card. There's only one ever printed, and it's in a museum somewhere. And it has like it's a dragon of some sorts, and it was for a very special occasion.
oh, okay. This is like a card that you could play in.
Oh, okay.
In like regular play. I'm not that you
Okay.
could play that card.
Well, no one technically owns that card. Like,
Yeah.
it's not legal. But yeah,
But yeah,
let's go for like $450. Riley, make a guess.
I'm gonna go. Like, does Wheel of Fortune count, or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
a
gonna say Wheel of Fortune.
so you gave me a price and Riley gave me a
Oh,
card.
whoops! What is the most expensive red card?
Yeah.
Ha!
So what you,
Ha!
I mean, Wheel of Fortune was over $100 right now. So
I was thinking Wheel of Fortune in my head. I was like $450.
According to valued by Star City Games, it is an Alpha Edition Shivan Dragon, which is $3,500 US.
Shivan Dragon.
Oh, Shivan Dragon for the win.
Nice.
Shivan Dragon. So one more. What is the most expensive red card that is not from an early core set? And it is from the set that had the mountain that just had the mountain in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
just
is
give you
it,
a little hint.
Oh,
Is
like I can
it
see.
that Djinn?
The one that
But we're
has
talking about red.
the misprint
Oh,
misprint
yeah,
one?
it's red, though.
Yeah, it's red.
The Hot Me
the
Djinn is blue.
Alibaba guy,
It is Ali from Cairo.
Ali from Cairo.
Ah.
It's $400 for Arabian Nights.
pretty
Also
good.
valued by Star City Games. That's what I got here. So don't sweat it. Okay, so that was fun, and I think we're gonna just wrap up the show right now, everybody. So thanks for listening. I'm kidding. We'll just cover a couple of things quickly. So each color has a characteristic creature type and an iconic creature type. And for red, goblins are the characteristic creature type. And the characteristic creature type is more of the, it's usually like the sentient creature type. So like white, it's humans. And then the iconic creature type is more of the non-sentient, but with white, the iconic creature type is angels, and those are sentient. So it's it's not a hard and fast rule, but you kind of get the idea.
Yeah.
And dragons are the iconic creature type for red, even though dragons come in all 5 colors, but they are predominantly red.
Yeah,
I think it's
Shivan
more
Dragon,
red.
man.
Yeah, Shivan Dragon.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. Also, like there's dragons that like eat goblins and stuff, so that's a really cool.
Yeah, that's right. What is that? What mechanic is that? It's Devour.
Devour.
Yeah.
And then there's cards like Dragon Fodder, just makes like 3 goblins or something.
Yeah. That's flavorful.
You know what you're gonna
Call
do
that
with
flavor.
those ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just get right into it. I'm going to talk a little bit about red's philosophy. So in case you don't know, red is one of the 5 colors of mana in Magic. It is drawn from mountains and embodies the principles of impulse and chaos. And the mana symbol for red is represented by a fireball. On the color pie, it is allied with blue and green, and its enemies with white and blue. And if you ever need to know, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but on the back of a Magic card, I think this is so cool because I didn't know this for the longest
Yeah.
time. But on the
I
back of a
didn't know
Magic
until
card,
you mentioned it either.
you can tell which colors are allied and enemies because the colors that are next to each other are allied and the colors that aren't are enemies, and
Yep.
and that's how the little dots are arranged on the back of a card. So red is also represented by things like freedom, emotion, acting, impulsivity, and destruction, but not like acting like theater acting, like, taking action.
Yeah, like getting to the point.
Yeah. Red looks at the world and sees adventure. For Red, there's no more worthwhile endeavor than to enjoy life by the adventure it offers. Experiences are what life is about, and to appreciate the full range of life's experiences, Red lives by emotion. It's kind of funny because we all live by emotion. Like the idea that we make rational decisions is not true. Like everything that we do is based on emotion.
I think so.
Just an interesting little tidbit.
We're all
I hope I
red.
didn't just shatter your view of reality right there. Red believes that a person can look at these emotions to find one's wishes and desires in life, but if you deny these, the life is meaningless. To accord with its beliefs, Red seeks out new experiences and new ways to express itself and seizes them. Carpe diem, right?
Yeah.
Seize it.
Seize the red.
It finds these ends in the complementary pillars of impulse and chaos. Impulse to Red means emotional action, but with chaos, Red creates the freedom for anyone to express his or her emotions, in a sense, by opening up new possibilities. Red's chaos frees novel experiences from the lattice of the status quo. I like using the word novel like that, as opposed to talking about a
book?
a work of fiction. Yeah. In valuing emotion and adventure so greatly, what Red truly prizes is freedom. And isn't that what we all prize?
Freedom.
Yeah.
No.
Some people
I like
don't.
structure and being told what to do.
Yeah, sometimes that is fun too. I agree with you there. To live life the Red way, passionately and imminently, Red must be able to act on its impulses, doing what it feels each moment without delay. All of these things often get Red into trouble, which Red really doesn't seem to mind at all. Red will fight against anyone who restrains anyone else, and the tools that Red uses to make this point, and those it uses to seek its own richness of passion, are the basis of card design for Red. Red, like some degree in Black, doesn't care how much it hurts itself as long as it hurts the opponent just as much. Examples of this include Flame Break, Bloodfire Colossus, and Earthquake. Man, I used to play Bloodfire Colossus a lot when I first learned how to play, and I was really bad at Magic.
Nice.
As an adventurer, Red is always looking to grow, either physically, mentally, or spiritually. Any new ideas, as long as they don't involve law or order, are eagerly and recklessly examined and adopted. Red itself is never the same, yet its goals in the game are always the same. To beat you and have fun doing it, using as much passion, fire, stone, goblins, dragons, and lightning bolts as it can chuck at you. A good way to look at it is through the element Red uses most often, fire. Fire needs new fuel in order to keep its intensity and expand. If it stays still, fire will fizzle out. So the need for new adventure and new ideas is how Red keeps
Who they are.
who they are. Examples of the desire to grow can be found with cards like Ashling the Pilgrim and Torian Mauler. So that's sort of the philosophy of Red and the flavor. But let's move on and talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses inherent to Red. And we're sort of talking about this across all formats, as we're wont to do.
Yeah.
So Red places a great deal of emphasis on combat, and believing at its core, life is a meritocracy. Wouldn't that be nice? The strong will rise, and the weak should either fall or get out of the way. In combat, Red believes that the best fight is a short fight. Thus, many speed-oriented mechanics, particularly the evergreen keywords haste, first strike, and double strike, are predominantly Red abilities.
Ooh, yeah. Getting in there fast, doing the damage.
Yep.
Yeah. Get him.
Burn.
Get him.
Not to mention Menace and Trample, shared with Black and Green respectively, both help push through combat damage. Red knows that Endurance isn't its most stunning quality, so it is invested with winning as quickly as possible. That being said, Red has no shortage of board wipes, which comes very much in handy if Red finds it's run out of steam. And Red has board wipes that deal with creatures, artifacts, and more than any other color, lands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. For some reason I thought it was white,
White?
but I think white has the Armageddon is the Armageddon boogeyman.
Well, yeah, and I mean, white just seems... When white has something very impactful, it's noticeable because white is white.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're the ones that usually have the most wipes. So
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot of like red targeted land destruction.
Yeah, and red's board wipes, board sweepers are they're often not destroy, they're damage based.
Yeah.
And whereas white is just straight up destroy.
Bye bye.
Get rid of it.
So red enjoys playing tricks on its enemies, and I'd say this is represented in the color pie in the form of like chaos magic, whereas like blue would interfere with magic, but it's more of like controlling. Like blue will just take your stuff. Red will be like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Or
Also,
blue will deny things, whereas red will be like, I'm just going to use it against you instead.
Yeah, because then like red also will like take creatures for a turn.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you get them back.
That's why you should have a sack outlet so you can sacrifice them.
Yeah, get rid of them.
Like what's that? Like insurrection, and then you have like a sack outlet, so nobody gets their stuff back. That's a good board wipe right there.
But also insurrection should just win you the game.
It should. That's a good game winning card.
Yeah. That's just no one has any blockers, so
Absolutely. So red is concerned more with taking away control from its enemies, forcing them to deal with the unexpected. Sometimes red can dictate the new effect. Sometimes it is random, and that would be like cards like we talked about chaos, but also cards like.
Like Warp World.
Well, yeah, that's more of a chaos thing, but I was thinking more of like reverberate or reiterate or fork is like the original version of that, where that kind of gives red access to slices of the color pie that it doesn't have access to.
Sure.
Right? Like
it's able to change the target of some other color.
yeah, like red has a lot of difficulty dealing with enchantments. So if there's an enchantment that you need to deal with, you can, potentially copy a spell. That's not really what I want to spend a fork on, but I will if I have to.
Yep.
Or you could just run Scour from Existence if
There
you
you
want to pay 7 mana. That's like the magic number for colorless removal, hey?
7.
7 mana.
If you got the time.
So something that is both a strength and a weakness for red is its card drawing abilities, which is, also known as rummaging. Red often must discard a card before drawing, in effect throwing away the known for something new, unless you have Faithless Looting, which is a looting effect.
Yeah, Faithless Looting kind of breaks the color pie a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But they wrote looting on it, so...
Yeah.
It's got to
okay.
loot.
Yeah.
It's not faithless rummaging.
Yeah, that's one, you got me there. But I believe rummaging is named after Rummaging Goblin.
Yes. Yeah, and Merfolk Looter.
Yeah, that's where looting comes from.
And in more recent years, red has had access to what we've come to call impulsive draw, where you can draw a card this turn, but you have to cast it. You don't draw it; it goes into exile, and you have to cast it before the end of the turn.
Yeah, or the end of the next turn, your next turn kind of thing.
Yeah, which is even newer.
Yeah,
that you have another turn.
Yeah,
and that's like light up the stage.
Yep.
That's one.
Yep.
And there's that new one from Theros Beyond Death where it goes into exile and you have to cast it before you exile another card with that card.
Furious Rise.
Yep.
Furious Rise. So even if Furious Rise leaves the battlefield, you can pretty much cast that card until, I
think that's how that works.
Yeah.
But I really like how they brought this kind of style because it's very red, where you're just like, I have this card. It's like a burst. It's very like chaos. Like, oh, it's only now and that's it.
Yeah, and the thing about red, especially in the like modern the red decks, like you're dumping your hand.
Yeah.
Right. So like this impulsive draw, it doesn't even get to come to your hand. You have to decide what you're going to do with it right now.
Yeah.
And there's also cards like Experimental Frenzy, which you don't discard your hand, but you don't have access to your hand anymore, and you're just playing off the top of your library.
Yeah.
Which is a really good card, but sometimes it's not so good.
Yeah, it's a really cool card though.
It's good until it's not so good.
Well, it's just I think if they didn't have that built in, you can just destroy it anytime you want. It would be it'd be way worse.
It would not be
way worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you need a way to get rid of it yourself then.
And if you're mono red,
It's an enchantment, so
yeah. Red's ability to ramp is somewhat unique in the amount of ritual spells it has access to. originally, Dark Ritual is from that original cycle of 1 mana spells. And, for a long time, like that was a black thing. And, Red has all those rituals now. And,
Oh yeah, like
it's,
Desperate Ritual.
and Ironcrag Feat.
Yeah,
Is that the
for
one
the new
from
one?
Throne?
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
that had 7.
Add 7, you only cast 1 more spell.
Yeah. Oh, such a spicy card.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
good.
It's great. Yeah, going from 4 to 7 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. The downside to these, a lot like the impulsive draw that Red has access to, is that you have to use the mana right now. Oh, Mana Geyser is the one I was trying to think of.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's a great card.
Oh, yeah.
Great commander card.
It's 3 and 2 red for sorcery. You add a red mana to your mana pool for each tapped land opponents control. Like, you're a lot of time netting like 10 mana from that card.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there are, of course, in terms of ramp, there is the card Mana Flare that has a symmetrical mana doubling effect. It's 2 and a red for an enchantment, and it's kind of an interesting card. It's sort of one of those cards like maybe Sylvan Library, where they hadn't quite figured out what the color pie was going to be. So you have Mana Flare, which is a card that
You think green would?
and green now does
Yeah.
have that effect
Yeah,
for sure.
Green has a ton of those abilities.
But yeah, definitely, I think kind of an underrated card, Mana Flare, like a card
I
not
think
a lot of
so.
people know about. And I think it was printed in the early core sets. I think it's pretty much like the one I have is a white bordered version.
Because you're like, I like double mana, but I don't like my opponents having double mana.
But you just cast it when you're going to win that turn. You don't
Yeah.
care, right?
Oh yeah.
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 But I think that's the reason why people look past that card.
Yeah, and a lot of cards like that have symmetrical effects.
Yeah.
So red's more reliable form of ramp is artifacts, mana rocks, like a lot of colors. And there isn't anything wrong with artifact ramp because for most colors that's all they have access to. The only downside to that is that they're more commonly destroyed than lands.
Yep.
And there's sort of a social contract where we don't destroy lands in Commander specifically.
Yep.
It's like it's not fun.
It's a little taboo.
It's mean.
Yeah.
I think we should try to change that.
Yeah, just slap those Armageddons inside your...
Well, I mean, don't play Armageddon don't play Armageddon spitefully, but play Armageddon if you have a board full of mana rocks and everyone else is land ramping, drop an Armageddon.
Yeah. Play a Ruination, just mess up those multicolored mana bases.
Also, I mean, if you can have white and red, and then you cast Vandal Blast Overload and cast Armageddon, no one has their mana rocks, you have yours, and they have no lands, and you're like, haha.
Yeah, that sounds like a great turn. But I'm a terrible person, so it makes sense. I would enjoy that.
Sometimes you just want to, make people squirm, you know?
Yeah, but I don't the thing that I don't advocate for is the strategies where your strategy is to annoy your opponents into conceding. Your win con is that your opponents concede. I don't.
It's all you have in your deck is board wipes.
Because what if
Yeah.
they don't concede? Then you're just sitting there waiting.
It's an
Yeah.
actual archetype, though. It's just Wrath decks.
I know.
but it shouldn't
I've
be...
expressed my disdain
It's
for
not
that.
effective by any means. But
Yeah, you're literally not doing anything.
Yeah.
And when I sit down at a commander table now in the wild, I always ask, is anyone playing stacks? Is anyone playing chaos? And is anyone playing a deck that does not have a clear either a clear win condition or a deck that the strategy is to prolong the game indefinitely? And if the answer to any of those questions is yes, then I play what I would consider to be one of my fast decks, so that I can try to end the game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so you know how in those later turns of the game, the turn generally tends to take a little bit longer and longer and longer as the game goes on. People have more resources, more cards.
Of course, more decisions to make.
More decisions to make. I made a Teamer Hugs deck with Maelstrom Wanderer, and of course it's a group hug strategy, right? So the idea was to use things like Collective Voyage. I think there's a card called New Frontiers. Basically just to ramp people and use things like Mana Flare and Heartbeat of Spring just to give people all these resources.
Yeah.
And, play Howling Minds and all those different effects to give people a ton of cards, a ton of mana. And the idea was to speed up the game. But what I found on the flip side of that is that it just did the complete opposite of that and just slowed things down because everybody had all these decisions to make all at once because they had all these resources all of a sudden
Right.
on like turn 3 when, you know, they wouldn't have access to stuff like that until, you know, turn 7, 8 and beyond, right?
Yeah.
So it made
And then they
for some
watch what
pretty
happens,
weird-
and then they look at their hand.
Yeah. I did play against a couple mono white players at a given time, and they were happy because
Of course.
they were able to
They
play
usually
Magic.
don't get that stuff.
Yeah, they don't get that stuff unless you're playing like SRAM. You can't really make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean that's also a representation of those particular decks that you were playing against, because some decks with those resources on turn 3 could close out the game, or could get to the point where they are closing out the game. Like their deck is such a focused tool that they can do that. And,
I think it was
just comes down to the like how you built your deck.
Yeah, and it was just interesting because I just basically gave them so many resources, just that was not expected, right? You know, like if you're waiting for a turn cycle, you've got your resources in your hand. You kind of have an idea of what you're going to be playing
Of course.
next turn. Then all of a sudden you get, you know, 5 basic lands out of your deck, and you've got like 3 extra cards, and now you've got to think of your game plan all over again.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, you got to resequence
Yeah.
for sure. Staying on the subject of ramping, red is probably the color that has the most artifact synergies after blue, of course. I don't forget about blue. And red also has a fair bit of access to copying spells, which we already talked about. Red's aggression pushes it to move quickly, and as such, many of Red's creatures can attack and activate the turn they enter play. Cards like Raging Goblin and Fervor show off this side of Red. Some hasty Red creatures sacrifice themselves at the end of the turn they were played, effectively acting like direct damage, such as the iconic Ball Lightning or Spark Elemental. And we've also seen cards like Sneak Attack and the new Perforos, where you can put a creature into play and it gains haste, but you have to sacrifice it at the
end of turn.
At the end of turn. So you will those enter the battlefield effects and leave the battlefield effects or die effects. And I think those are both a strength and a weakness, depending on what you're playing. Like in a longer commander game, I think if you can continuously get value off of them, they're more of a strength. But if you're just sort of pitching creatures, like if let's say the new Perforos was your commander, if you're just sending them to the graveyard and you don't have a way to get them back, then you're getting that initial value, but
that's it.
That's it, yeah.
And you want creatures to stay around.
Generally, you know, unless you're not playing a very creature-heavy deck, but yeah.
But what is that perfect to go with?
Sundial of the Infinite.
Hey.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man.
Got it. That's right.
There's that episode.
Sundial of the Infinite. That's one of the foils that's getting reprinted in the mystery boosters.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
So that's like a $14, $15 foil.
Nice.
Yeah. And we already talked about chaos effects. How do we feel about those in terms of strength, weakness? Of course, it depends on the context of the deck, and I'm talking more about Commander here. But as an archetype, you know, what do we think?
I think chaos is just the embodiment of the variance in Magic. Like it really depends, and it's all based on that luck. I think there's probably ways you can build chaos effectively, but at the end of the day, it's gonna do exactly what it sounds like. It's gonna cause a lot of chaos. It's gonna cause a lot of headaches. It's gonna cause a lot of 20-minute turns with people resolving a chaos warp. Like it's
and by building effectively, you mean like building to.
There might be a competitive way to build chaos,
Right.
but I haven't really seen that.
Sure.
Well, because I think when somebody goes for a chaos build, they're just going all in on the chaos. And I think you can still build a chaos style deck that has a lot of chaos elements, but then also have ways in the deck for you to like close out the game
And
or
get
have
the
like
most
some...
value off of those chaos effects.
Yeah.
In some way. Right?
I don't know if there's a way because it's so RNG.
Yeah, it is. But it's just like, how can I make this more chaotic for my opponents? Well, it's still chaotic for me, but I'm getting, it's like less. It's like I have a little bit more control over it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to build a deck and try to, like, that's sort of the route that I would take with it. Even like a group hug thing. Like, I've never built a deck like that. Like, there are all kinds of things that would be like.
Yep.
Anyways,
In the right
it does
play
take
group,
a long time.
Yeah, in the right play group, like group hug, can definitely be a lot of fun in the sense that it's hilarious what you can do.
Sure.
It's not necessarily the most effective way to win the game because, of course, I mean that's kind of the idea of group hug is give everybody resources, make
Yeah.
everybody laugh.
Yeah.
But if it's overdone, the joke gets old.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said
For
to
chaos.
chaos as well. Yeah.
But in like a group hug deck, you can also give everybody resources and use cards like
I think you're kind of like speeding things up
after
more.
you're speeding things up, but like you can also win with
Minus what you've said.
cards
Riley.
like Insurrection,
Oh,
or you can wipe the board and then Rise from the Dark Realms.
Yep.
So like you can still do it. So
Or mass manipulation.
yeah,
That card's
exactly.
Spicy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can still do it where you're giving everyone the resources and you're letting them play out the game. And if you have ways to protect yourself from combat, also people aren't going to want to attack you because you're helping them. And then you just take all their stuff and use it to kill them. Right?
Yep.
So you can build it in a very effective way,
Yeah.
or a combo win. I've also seen that
Yeah.
many times. Do we have anything else to say in terms of like Red's strengths and weaknesses?
It
I think.
can't really deal well with enchantments.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's not something that was. We touched on that. But yeah, that's one of their big weak points, obviously.
Yeah, we did have Enchanter's Bane in last year's or 2018 Commander, but that card isn't very good
No, it's not.
No.
because you can just in Commander you have 40 life. You can just pay the life
Yeah.
for the casting cost if you don't want to sacrifice an artifact or
Yeah.
enchantment rather.
But I mean, there's Chaos Warp, and I think Chaos Warp definitely bends the color pie.
Absolutely, yeah.
In
I think
weird
if you're
ways.
running like a mono red deck, you should have Chaos Warp.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even in 2 or 3 color decks like Chaos, depending on the colors, I think Chaos Warp is a really good include.
And just speaking of like card design and stuff, sometimes like if we have like a cycle of cards, red is going to be the one that kind of gets shafted. They're always like the worst of the bunch more often
Really, you
than
don't
not. I
think
think.
White's the worst?
I think red like.
But Red's gotten, I mean, like, we did get Smothering Tithe with White, which really helped White out. But Red's been getting so much card draw value in the last few years.
They've been getting card draw, but I'm saying when we have a cycle of like 5 cards that do the same thing, they'll have like color identity with it.
Right.
Reds is always something that's like,
But
Like,
I think red and white are generally the weaker of the colors when like the mono colors, I should say.
Yeah.
Because they can definitely be strong supporting colors. But red's kind of got an advantage in that it has quite a bit of reach and it has those ritual effects. So there are definitely ways that you can kind of get a bunch of mana and just hit a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah.
Simultaneously with like a comet storm or whatever.
Yeah, and I think all the copying effects that Red has access to make it a very powerful color. But even like the cycle of what were those? Was it the overwhelming cycle from War of the Spark? Is that what that cycle of sorceries were? Maybe not overwhelming, but it was all those X spells
Oh yeah.
and
Devastation.
finales.
Finales.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And the white one was just get a bunch of tokens, and the red one didn't let you cast spells from your graveyard? Like
Yeah,
It
like,
lets you cast a spell for free.
yeah, like red also. We didn't really talk about that, but red has like that kind of power to recur spells from the graveyard. You have like Mizzix's Mastery and Underworld Breach, which is a new card. That's like a big deck in Pioneer, Lotus Breach. But like white doesn't really have that kind of access. White can recur artifacts and enchantments.
Yeah, and in some cases like creatures or other permanents, but it's pretty niche.
Yeah, and then that like sort of past inflamed Underworld Breach ability is incredibly powerful, right? Like the card Yawgmoth's Will. Yeah, Yawgmoth's Will is the sorcery. Yawgmoth's Bargain is the banned commander card, that 6-man enchantment. But yeah, like that's sort of those cards are piggybacked off of that kind of an effect where you get to cast spells from your graveyard.
Yeah, totally. Just to touch on the thing I was talking about, like cycles. So, like we have like the command cycle. Red is obviously like the weakest one. It lets you cycle your hand and stuff, but that's about it.
That's incendiary command.
Yeah.
Like austere command.
Austere command is bomb, and like cryptic command is super good. Like all the Titans are really good, but I still think Inferno Titan's the weakest of the 5 Titans. Well, Frost Titan, maybe Frost Titan
Well,
is.
it
I
depends
think.
what context, like what
Yeah.
format you're playing in. So if you're playing in a limited environment, like
Inferno Titan's really good,
freaking
actually.
bomb.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then recently with the Modern Horizons.
Ranger Captain of Eos.
No. The cycle of the spells that you could cast for free. Reds was total.
Oh, that was the
Yeah.
one that makes 2-3 ones with trample and haste.
The packs? Is that what they were?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
attack
can
cycle.
make 2-3 ones with haste for free on your opponent's turn.
And you have to sacrifice them at the end of the next end step, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bite of it.
Remember how much I complained about Hate Mirage? That card stinks.
Oh my god.
It's still bad.
It's still bad. But yeah, I think this conversation is just illustrating the point that they both colors kind of get
The shaft a
short
lot
end
of the
the
time.
stick
Yeah.
when it comes to power level.
Yeah.
For sure.
They can't all be number one, right?
No.
Somebody's got to win.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can still like look at things and sometimes try and give a little bit more power instead of just being like, oh, this is something the color does. We're just going to do that anyways, and who cares what happens in the end?
Yeah, and I think part of this series is talking about those things and talking about kind of doing these new things, trying to give these colors more power while maintaining their flavor and
Their
identity
flavor, yeah.
in the
And
color
I
pie.
mean, white and red inherently are aggressive colors.
Yeah.
Right?
They're more aggressive.
So low to the ground, quick, small creatures, aggressive play.
Mm-hmm.
But Commander is a very dirtily format.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're not here to hit people in the face with aggressive 1 and 2 drops, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're here to play big spells or ramp a bunch of mana and do big things.
Yeah.
But aggressive archetypes aren't really that predominant in Commander.
Yeah, because they're not really viable.
Yeah.
They're not going to win you games.
Unless you're playing Infect.
Yeah, unless playing. In fact, you can play Boros Infect, I guess.
Boros Infect? Oh
There's
my
a
god.
few. There's Infect creatures in each color.
This is why we need Infect.
Yeah.
It's just another way to...
We need a Boros
Make
Infect
aggro
commander.
That'd be cool. Creatures you control have Infect.
Oh.
Attacking creatures you control have Infect. I'll do that. Just to make it a little...
That's still
Just to make it a little...
Sure, sure.
And then maybe attacking creatures you control have Infect. Blocking creatures you control have a Wither. So then it's
You
a
know
little
what?
bit
We
of
don't
both.
need to make it more complicated.
There's not they're very straightforward.
It's basically the exact same thing. Why don't you just leave it at Infect? Wither...
Yeah, you're right. I was overdoing it. You're right.
But that commander should also have eminence, so those abilities, or even when he's just in the command zone.
Okay.
Yeah, why cast them, right?
And
It's not like you can have the mana to recast
It
them.
should grant them Shadow when they attack.
Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch and Shadow. I don't
Death
know,
Touch-
Shadow's pretty
Death Touch,
confusing.
Infect, Shadow.
And horsemanship.
See, this is why...
Why do they need Death Touch if they have, yeah, they have Shadow. They can't block. What are you talking about? Don't
They
do
can
Death
they
Touch.
can block creatures with Shadow.
They can, yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a good. This is why we can't work at WotC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they would never.
They would never. All right. Well, I think we can bring this shorter Color Pie episode to a close. Although our Color Pie episodes are usually a little shorter.
They're a little shorter, but still good content.
Yeah, it's great content. Oh, speaking of which, rate and review us on any podcast platform that you listen to us on.
Let us know what you think.
It
We'd
really-
like to hear.
Yeah, it really helps us out.
Yeah. Even if you
Assuming
have,
it's nice.
Well,
give
they're
some,
going to give
like-
us 5 stars.
yeah. But if you have some criticism, let
just
us
be
know.
kind.
If you have
Change.
if you have criticism, email it to us privately, and then leave a 5-star review,
There you
Yeah.
go.
and we'll fix it. We'll fix it. The subject line is "fix it."
At least be
Exclamation
constructive,
point.
you know? Don't get too aggressive.
Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it.
Yeah, don't be like, "I hate your voice." It's like, well, I'm sorry.
Judge.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't like my opponent's voice.
I think it's like, well, it depends. Can I get a different judge here? I'm not liking this judge call.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that poor guy. He probably doesn't even listen to the show, so it's fine if we make fun of him. I just feel bad. I feel bad about making fun of people that aren't that I don't know, I guess.
Sure.
But that
Yeah.
I sort of
That's fair.
weirdly
Yeah.
know. If I actually don't know you, you're like a celebrity, well, that's fine. Or politicians. Oof. But
Don't get me started.
somebody that's commenting or something, it's like, it's like, I think most people don't comment, so you're sort of putting yourself out there, so I don't want to be mean to them, which
Yeah.
is it's weird.
You want to promote people to be able to talk.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to be mean.
Talk to us.
No, we're not being mean.
Much.
All right. Okay. So, thank you everybody for listening as usual. And Riley, we want to thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We can go through some social media stuff here. Riley, where can folks find you if they want to bend your ear?
Well, here's my phone number. No. You can follow me on Twitter at RylesDayton and on Instagram at Riley_Dayton.
Cool. You can find us, Eric and I, on Instagram at Turn One Soaring the podcast. Check out our March giveaway. We'll actually put a link to that in the show notes if you want to check that out.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at Command Beacon if you like magic content, but the podcast Instagram also has a lot of magic content, so you can check that out too. And that's about it. Do you guys have anything else you want to say to our lovely listeners?
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, folks.
We wouldn't be here without you. This is a lot of fun. Thanks as always.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next Monday, barring some unfortunate event. Thanks.
Bye.
Turn one soul ring.
You sounded quite nasally.
Yeah.
That's probably
I
why.
am just a nasally person.